Okay, as you can see, we've got the big kahuna turned up, and we got to go do some more surgery on this thing. Got the tubes in and put them on the chassis, and got her prepped for a fire up. We brought her up on a couple of dim bulbs, and we got nothing. Not a peep, not a poop. We did get a little scratchiness here and there, but nothing on any band. It seems like we did get something to a certain degree on the phono, but I never did put a input on the jack in order to see if it was working properly. Another rule that I broke in one of my other previous videos, I stated that go through and check all coils, transformers, and everything like that. That would get them out of the way. That way you don't have to worry about whether or not they are complete and working order. Well, I decided to check these in battle. And when I didn't get anything, I went through the paper. Not this one. Like I said, there was two variations in schematics on this radio, or on a Tropic radio, whether this one or any of the others. I went through and started tracing up everything up here until I got up to the connection to the pre-tubes, C7, J7, and 78 tubes, and the IFs. Well, when I validated everything in yellow there, and there is a close resemblance to the other schematic that I have for this radio. One's a 42-888 and the other one's a 46-888 or something like that. Anyway, there's two of them. Oh, they're pretty close. There are different values in the two different schematics. Well, I decided to go through and check the IFs, and I get tone on 3 of the IFs on either the primary side or the secondary side. This IF2, it had a problem on the secondary side. I could not get a tone. I could get a tone on the primary, but not a tone on a secondary. I thought it might have been because the value was too high to produce a tone. Well, I checked it with a resistance value. It came up nothing. So I pulled the IF, and sure enough, there was a wire that was missing. I mean, completely missing. from the coil to the terminal that it was hooked to. There was a little telltale still on the terminal, which is why I knew that, hey, well, I don't know if it was chewed off or whatever. I can't imagine why something would chew on wires and not insulation. there is no insulation on those wires. So it beats me, but I'll show you some stills that I took of this second IF with the wire missing, and show you that it was completely gone. Now, I didn't get a reading on the first IF on the secondary. I got it on the primary, but I didn't get no reading on the secondary. I haven't got to that one yet. That's going to be next, as soon as I get this one wired back in. Yes, I've managed to find the, and fortunately for me, that the end that was missing was on the outer windings of that secondary. So it was a little involved trying to pick down, and you'll see why, because they coated them pretty good with some hard wax. And I was afraid that I would rip up a bunch of loops of trying to scratch down to get to where I thought the end of the coil would be. But I managed. We'll test that in battle to see whether or not I got a good connection on it or not. But anyway, I put it together and I got tone on both primary and secondary. Stuck it back in there. Now I'm getting ready to hook the wires back in according to my here's for the first IF, second IF, third IF. On this third IF, I believe I got tone on the primary. The secondary, no tone. Now, the third IF is a bit different than the other two. And, believe it or not, they've constructed these things. There you can see that one. And, I mean, they're a real pain in the butt to get to expose the internals. You have to cut off the majority of these, whatever you call them. I would liken them to a nut. And what they did was they went and they crimped them onto the threaded shafts. Well, those I had to cut off because I could not spin those nuts or those hubs or whatever you want to call them. I could not get it. And they had to come off because these speed nuts here, if you will, they ain't going to come off, and if you can't get them off, you don't get the internals out so you can get to them and work on them. So this is going to get a modification in the IF adjustments. The other one, it only has one adjustment to it. I believe it's the secondary, if I'm not mistaken, but I could be. It's in a traditional can. Why they did it that way, I have no idea. But let me get this one put back together. We'll get this other one extracted and get it opened up so you can see what we're dealing with. Alrighty, this is the first IF taken out of the can. This secondary stage, I'm believing that's a secondary stage. From what I've experienced, primaries are always at the bottom. but not in all cases, I would imagine. I don't know, I guess it's up to the manufacturer or the designer. I don't know if it's a rule of thumb or what. You can see something's been eaten up, the tip right there. It started over here too. Nothing on that one. I guess it fulfilled its needs before moving on to anything else. And this one here is unscathed. There was no way to get a tone on this one because all it does is go across this mica cap and the coil, and it's adjusted for resonance, I guess. This one down here is the primary, I'm assuming, because of the red and blue. That's the circuit that I got the tone on. The white and the green, this green goes to a grid cap of the 78 tube. Right there, that little gizzy sucky thingy right there. Well, it's completely missing all the way. I can see a little fiber in this there right at the pencil end. There's a single strand. I can tell that it's there because it's glistening in the light from the halogen at my angle. There is where it goes into the, and fortunately it is on the outer loops where it terminates, comes over to this thing. So, I mean, who'd have thunk? All the way, this, let me zoom back out. This end here is the bottom of the, and that is the top, of course. How something could get in that little hole right there into this can all the way up here and start chewing away, I don't know. It beats the donkey crap out of me. So anyway, there's that. We're gonna attempt to repair this one and get her back in, and then we're gonna double check the third IF on its circuitry. It's a little difficult to validate that one because I believe there are additional components let's see here. Third IF right there. See, it's got all these resistors in there, supposedly. Anything inside that dashed line is part of the can. So that 47K resistor, I found the 330. There it is right there. So we're going to have to really thoroughly check this one out and double validate, because, you know, I'd really like to keep from having to pull that third IF, but I guess if I have to, I have to. The green and the black should give me a tone. That cap willing. The blue and the red, I get a tone on. So let me get this one here wound up and back on the chassis. Okay, I got double jeopardy here. in my enthusiasm of finding that end right there for that one, we got it hooked back in, I believe, but there's no way to test it because in my haste there is this side is missing. I mean, completely missing. And you know what that means, boys and girls. I hope that's politically correct. It comes up here to the start point of the wind, which is in the center of the winding. And it's a big one, a big butt. You see that little, whoop-de-doodle right there? I think that's where it came out. And it goes in. You see how that one there is? It goes all the way, about halfway in, 2/3 of the way in, and then it's shibby-dibby. This one here goes pretty much all the way in. So I'm thinking that right there, if I can get that tip exposed, we'll see. So let me delicately jump into this side. You can see the remainder of the wires. So let me do that. We'll be back, I hope. Okay. We've got, I don't know if you can see it very well. We got both those wires. Now when there comes over across the top, I believe that was the lead in for the coil, and we got it back over on that terminal for the grid cap. We're going to check it. So that was the white, and the green. Yay. We have tone. Come on. Okay, and now I believe we had tone on the red and the blue. The black is, there is no other side of the coil that comes out. It goes through a cap, a mica cap. I guess that's just for filtering or something, I don't know. Anyway, we got it. Shee! What do they say? It's better to be pretty than to be lucky. I feel pretty, so pretty. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to use some go-to glue and dress it up here so that we don't accidentally yank it to Timbuktu. So, and we'll touch up some of the other crap so that it don't get destroyed. So stay tuned, there'll be more.